Imagine the skies over the Persian Gulf's most glamorous cities, Dubai, Riyadh, Manama. Instead of the familiar roar of commercial aviation, the air is thick with the terrifying lawnmower-like buzz of Iranian kamikaze drones. We are watching luxury high-rises, international airports, and billion-dollar radar facilities being absolutely paralyzed by a weapon that costs less than a base-model sedan. But here is the massive twist the Pentagon hasn't been broadcasting. The United States military isn't just shooting these things down anymore. We are copying them. Welcome to the dawn of Lucas, the low-cost unmanned combat system. In a stunning reversal of traditional warfare, American forces have successfully reverse-engineered Tehran's infamous Shahed drone, and right now, they are sending swarms of these $35,000 mechanical assassins straight back into Iranian airspace to overwhelm the Ayatollah's air defenses. This is a terrifying geopolitical equalizer. For decades, the U.S. relied on multi-million-dollar Tomahawk missiles and massive defense contractors to project power. Today, a tiny Arizona startup is mass-producing lethal drones guided by military-grade satellite internet to rain American-made Retribution on the exact regime that wrote the playbook. The stakes are apocalyptic. If a militant faction or a rogue state can execute precision, long-range strikes on a shoestring budget, the entire character of modern warfare has permanently shifted. We are staring down a relentless, fast-paced innovation race where the victor isn't the side with the most expensive toys, but the side that can clone and mass-produce cheap terror the fastest. Before we break down the explosive debut of Lucas, the panicked global scramble for Ukrainian defense tech, and the terrifying Iranian strategy to bring the Middle East to its knees, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tell me in the comments, are cheap drones the end of American military dominance? Let's dive into the hardware. Way before the skies over the Persian Gulf were choked by Iranian suicide drones plummeting into embassies and commercial hubs, the Pentagon was quietly scrambling for a budget-friendly way to blast them out of the air. Back in 2024, American research and development teams managed to reverse-engineer Tehran's notorious Shahed munition. The original intent was to use the knockoffs purely for target practice, countering the exact tech Iran was handing out to Russia, Hezbollah, and Venezuela. But then a light bulb went off in Washington. If this disposable Iranian weapon is so brutally effective and unbelievably cheap, why reinvent the wheel? Why not just steal their homework? And just like that, the low-cost unmanned combat system, dubbed Lucas, was born. Fast forward to this past week. The United States military actively deployed these copycat drones into a live combat theater for the very first time, deliberately swarming and crippling Iranian air defense grids. As U.S. Central Command boldly declared on social media, these budget-friendly clones are officially serving up American-made Retribution. This intense high-stakes drone duel is rapidly becoming the trademark of the U.S.-Iran conflict. We are getting a terrifying preview of a new era of warfare, where the capacity to quickly mimic your enemy and mass-produce discount weaponry is just as critical as developing ultra-advanced stealth fighters. This rapid-fire development cycle feels ripped straight out of a Silicon Valley boardroom, totally bypassing the legendary sluggish bureaucracy of the Pentagon. Let's look at the specs. Both the original Shahed and the American Lucas carry a dirt-cheap price tag of roughly $35,000. They measure about 10 feet in length, boast an 8-foot wingspan, and pack a lethal, impact-detonating warhead right in the nose. Once you punch in the GPS coordinates, these mechanical predators can fly hundreds of miles entirely on their own. Visually resembling miniature fighter jets, they perfectly bridge the gap between commercial quadcopters being strapped with grenades in Ukraine and the massive multi-million-dollar American Predators and Reapers that loiter for days. We are now seeing devastating bombardments, operations that previously demanded a fortune in precision missiles, executed for the price of a used car lot full of Honda Accords. Suddenly, glamorous, seemingly untouchable metropolises across the Gulf are sitting directly in the crosshairs. Michael C. Horowitz, a former Biden-era Pentagon official who actively shaped the Lucas initiative, emphasizes that this capability is proliferating like wildfire. With rapid manufacturing and advanced autonomous software, he warns that any militant faction or rogue nation can now launch devastating short and long-range strikes. It is fundamentally rewriting the character of war. Driving this American initiative is SpectraWorks, a scrappy Arizona startup. Defense insiders strongly suspect Lucas relies on Starshield, the militarized tier of Elon Musk's Starlink, or a similar satellite network to guide its payload. It is a glaring testament to how commercial off-the-shelf tech can yield simple weapons as useful as the complicated systems defense contractors spent decades building. Georgetown University's Lauren Kahn points out the historical weight of this. Not since the dawn of the Cold War has the U.S. military actively looked at an adversary's weapon, realized they had a gap, and explicitly produced a copy to fill it. While SpectraWorks and SpaceX kept quiet, Elon Musk did clarify online that Starshield is strictly governed by the U.S. government, not his corporate team. This brutal tit-for-tat innovation race is a direct echo of the grueling front lines in Ukraine. Yet American defense officials brag that the true triumph of Lucas isn't the hardware, but the lightning-fast turnaround. The military managed to reverse engineer a foreign threat and deploy a lethal, combat-ready clone in a mere 18 months. When you stack a $35,000 drone against a $2.5 million Tomahawk cruise missile, the brutal economics speak for themselves. Of course, you get what you pay for. These discount drones are sluggish and emit a deafening buzz, making them highly conspicuous targets. Their small size restricts their payload capacity and destructive footprint, and their navigation links are vulnerable to intense electronic jamming. But the pipeline is already loaded with upgrades. Built with a modular architecture and malleable software, Lucas is designed to seamlessly integrate emerging tech like artificial intelligence as it matures. Just last year, President Trump signed off on a massive $1.1 billion domestic package specifically aimed at achieving drone dominance, securing thousands of these one-way kamikazes. The Pentagon has also inked deals with private tech heavyweights like Anduril and Skydio to field more sophisticated autonomous wingmen, designed to fly in tandem with the cheap swarms. The ultimate strategic goal? An arsenal that perfectly balances surgical precision with overwhelming expendable mass. We are looking at a near future where human fighter pilots will lead their own personal swarms into battle. For now, as Horowitz notes, these are strictly fire-and-forget weapons, but fully reliable AI upgrades are an incredibly attractive option to supercharge their lethality. Meanwhile, Iran is executing a calculated campaign of terror. Over the last 7 days, Tehran's drones have provided the most chilling visuals of this conflict. Viral footage is flooding the internet showing Shaheds violently impacting a Bahraini high-rise and a luxury hotel on the Palm in Dubai. We've seen a massive explosion erase an expensive radar installation in Bahrain and smoke choking the Dubai airport. Drones have also reportedly struck the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh and Amazon data centers in the Emirates, though it isn't officially verified that Shaheds were the culprit. The entire region's airspace is paralyzed. Tourists and business travelers are stranded. Anna Miskelly, an analyst at Forecast International, cuts straight to the point. These weapons are engineered purely to manufacture chaos, and the explosive videos are a massive media victory. Farzan Nadimi of the Washington Institute confirms that raining terror on populations and destabilizing economies is the core of Iran's drone strategy. Domestically, these strikes provide the government with desperately needed propaganda. Nadimi estimates Tehran has thousands of these munitions stockpiled deep inside mountain caves, enough to sustain massive daily swarm attacks for weeks. And because they can be launched from something as simple as a retrofitted shipping container on a truck, they are a nightmare to track. The U.S. and Israel are actively targeting Shahed manufacturing hubs and launch zones. The genesis of the Shahed design actually traces back to a 2019 attack on Saudi oil installations. The weapon featured a Frankenstein design, including a reverse-engineered German engine meant for light aircraft. Their crude nature, flying slow and low, ironically makes them difficult for modern air defenses to detect, as radar software typically filters out slow-moving objects like birds or civilian Cessnas to avoid false positives. Stopping them in the air is financially bleeding the coalition dry. A single defensive interceptor can run a staggering $3 million. As Miskelly notes, the drone is small enough to hide from radar, cheap enough to launch en masse, and lethal enough to force the U.S. to burn through its premium defensive tech. This is a direct evolution of the brutal lessons learned in Kyiv. In Ukraine, the swarm attacks are so ubiquitous that the Shahed literally has its own warning emoji on social media channels. The current Middle Eastern theater is basically an evolution of the 2022 Russian invasion. Hudson Institute's Brian Clark highlights that Russia, which now mass-produces its own Shahed variants, has actively fed critical modifications back to Iran, including enhanced sensors and automated targeting. In response, Ukrainian forces have practically written the textbook on cheap defense, utilizing cameras and acoustic microphones to track the drone's signature whizzing hum, and experimenting with everything from electronic warfare to nets and heavy machine guns. Now that survival expertise is flowing back to the Middle East. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed Wednesday that he has been in direct talks with American, Qatari, and Emirati leadership to share Kyiv's battle-tested defense tech as Western interceptor stockpiles fall. With American and Israeli strikes systematically obliterating Iran's domestic production facilities, the terrifying wildcard is Moscow. Will Vladimir Putin return the favor for Tehran's past support and flood the Iranian theater with Russian-built Shahed reinforcements? Reporting contributed by Shira Frankel. The skies over the Middle East are writing a terrifying new chapter in the history of warfare, and the implications for the United States are staggering. We have officially crossed the threshold into an era of disposable, asymmetric combat. The fact that the most powerful military on the planet was forced to literally copy a cheap Iranian suicide drone just to stay competitive proves that the old rules of engagement are dead. If a $35,000 piece of fiberglass and a commercial satellite uplink can paralyze global financial hubs like Dubai and force the U.S. to burn through $3 million interceptors, the economic endurance of the American military is facing a monumental stress test. We are looking at a perilous strategic crossroads. In one scenario, the mass production of the Lucas drone allows the United States to successfully overwhelm Iranian air defenses, systematically dismantling Tehran's military infrastructure on the cheap and forcing a rapid end to the conflict. In a far darker scenario, this tit-for-tat drone war spirals completely out of control. If Russia steps in to replenish Iran's depleted stockpiles, this conflict will mutate into an endless, grinding war of attrition that will continuously threaten global energy markets, destabilize allied Arab nations, and drain American defense budgets dry. The capability to project devastating power is no longer restricted to superpowers. It has been completely democratized. The race to master cheap AI-driven drone swarms won't just decide the victor of this specific war in Iran. It will dictate the absolute future of global security. How do you see this drone arms race playing out? Will the U.S. military's new Lucas swarms crush the Iranian offensive? Or are we locked into an unwinnable financial war of attrition? Drop your boldest predictions in the comments below. If you want the unvarnished truth on global military tech, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share this video.